Do you have pen? Paper will but pen? Okay. Fine. Okay. So I'll hand it over to Bhaskar for starting off this session on personal branding.
Us know him for some very specific traits, and maybe he has a big team of psychologists working for him doing his Twitter handle. Who knows, right? But he definitely stands for something, right? I don't think anyone of us, or maybe one of you, will have a profile like him someday, but let's look at some more, right? I'm sure everybody knows him as well. So when you see Ratan Tata, what comes to your mind? Maybe Gen Z will, okay, let me ask some young people, do you know who that is? Okay, that's Ratan Tata. So what do you think when you see Ratan Tata? Simplicity, right? Values, right? Ethical, which probably are not necessarily terms, maybe you will, maybe you won't, but maybe you will not associate those terms with Adani, right? So they all have some brand. And what comes to your mind when you see this? Maricom.
Passion.
Fighter, champion, right? She's also a mother, as far as I know, 3 kids. Lot of personal pain in her life at the early stages and all that. So these are brands that are recognizable, right? I'm not saying we aspire to be like them, or maybe we should, but they all stand for something that they have cultivated very seriously, right? And this brand is something that you have to cultivate over a period of time. Okay, so personal branding is creating and promoting a unique and authentic personal image, right? So let's break that down a little bit. So see, it's very deliberate. You have to create it. It's going to take effort, right? A personal brand, whether at home, at your workplace, or on LinkedIn, is not going to automatically come. You have to put effort to create it. The second part is even more tough, which is to be able to promote. It doesn't come naturally, right? Especially to Indians. I don't like generalizing, but it's true. So you have to put effort to create and to promote. It's not going to happen. Then unique, authentic, and personal, right? Because all of us are individuals, we view the world differently. And the way to be unique and authentic is to have a point of view, right? The point of view may be right, may be wrong, but to have a point of view. Because if you consistently do something over a period of time and your point of view resonates with others, then you'll always build a brand saying that we always like to hear XYZ on HR topics. We always like to hear ABC on topics. In fact, in finance, you'll find a lot of people who have built extremely good careers just by having a very authentic point of view, like as to where the stock market will move, not move. And they're all entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, right? Just by building that very trusted brand. Because, I mean, you must have, like in 1 year, what you have achieved, in 3 years, what you have achieved, it keeps changing, so you can keep going back to it. And believe me, I think it matters. I really think it matters. It's like, what the benefit that you might get from it is so minuscule if you think of it on a 1 week basis or a 1 month basis, on a 1 year basis. It feels like, hey, nothing is happening. But if you consistently do it for 5 years, right, you will be very glad that you did it. Okay, so I'll not go through much of this, but obviously it's a very important network, right? It's probably the only professional network that's out there. At one point there was this Clubhouse, I think it was called Clubhouse, right? The voice-based network or something, but it never really took off. Okay, so number one, take an effort to put a good picture, right? In the LinkedIn headshot, the more professional, the better. So take an effort to at least put a good picture, because it makes a difference. It makes a point, right? It kind of, that's your first impression. Okay. See how everybody. I just took some screenshots to explain the point better. So there are lots of profiles like this, especially technical ones, where everybody is kind of more or less writing the same thing, right? And what happens at the top is the profile headline. So I think that's an opportunity to differentiate. So for example, these are good ones, right? So once you go through this exercise of how, what, who, where, then you will be able to come up with lines that really truly represent you. And that really should be the profile headline. So I just took some screenshots from Google just to show you the difference between something like this and the difference between something like this. Okay. Keeping an eye on all these MBA courses that are fully online, that like STOA School and others, right? Then you will be able to connect the dots for others as well, right? So that's how you essentially become authentic. Brag about yourself a little bit, talk about your accomplishments. Use numbers and metrics. We'll see some examples as we go through. Your value proposition is basically what is it that you bring to the table, right? What is it that you really bring to the table? Your key skills. And you can also summarize for keywords, because at the end of the day, LinkedIn is based on a lot of algorithms, so there are certain keywords that matter, right? For example, future of work, employing Gen Z, engaging with Gen Z, mental health. These are things that are talked about, so you can't ignore them, right? Like if you ignore, like, hey, I don't care about this, it's nothing to do with HR. I think it's got a lot to do with HR, and you have to care about those things. You have to care about, so for example, Web3 is making a lot of noise. I can guarantee Gen Z know more about Web3 than anyone else in this room. Metaverse is making a lot of noise. NFTs are making a lot of noise. So if you want to engage with students and you're not able to talk about Metaverse, Gen Z, NFT for like, let's say 2 minutes, how will you even engage, right? Because they're going to think like, who is this person? He doesn't know what's Metaverse. All right, cool. So see, like I just
whether I agree with that or not.
Yeah. Right. So do it that way, right? You write it yourself and ask them to post it. And you should also remind them. You should say, hey, did you get a chance to do it? Right? Okay, cool. So last thing I want to say before I invite Anuradha is personal branding. I think it's a marathon, right? It's not like if you do something tonight or you have a New Year resolution that I'll build a personal brand, and after the first quarter it's done, it's not going to work, right? It's almost like somewhere in your to-do list, it's a line item that what did I do this month to share. And have your targets like this, right? That once a month I will do a deep share. Deep share meaning really read something deep or do a book summary or a book review on HR. Like for example, there are some incredible books on like team building, like multipliers. There is an incredible book called Radical Candor about giving feedback. Right? Now that is a valuable post. Right? Okay, cool. So lifelong activity. And when we were kind of brainstorming
the own credentials in market, sometimes what I found is I've seen one or two guys, I mean, whenever I go to any network meetings and all, they're always be there. It's like, even organizations also like feel that, I mean, he's not contributing to the organization, means not spending more time in the organization and attending these activities outside. This I have seen, and he's
choice. Nobody is forcing anyone to brand yourself. But should you do in today's market? The answer is yes. Everybody should. Then the question is why we should do it. It is important. Otherwise, you know the age-old saying, frog in the well. So do we really want to be a frog in the well? Or we really want to run along this new generation, the multi-generational workforce that we have? So that's important. Okay. Second thing, for awards, right? There are two ways to look at it. Some awards are really, pay for it and you get it. But there are awards where they go through a lot of processes, jury and all those. So try to participate in those. They take some very nominal fee, because once nominal fee is there, you will be interested to participate. So apply for those, like Chombe is there, 40 under 40. My friend Devi, he is now top 100 TFI Young HR Leader in India. I had got it last year. I also won the Economic Times HR Leader of the Year last year for doing some incredible work in my previous organization for TA Digital. So it's up to you what you want to do, how much you want to do. Don't put a limit. That's what I would say.
I think that's a perfect answer, I think.
Thank you.
For some time now, not because of the ISP connection. We later found out we were there, but incredible work. right? Blackbucks. So I think the entrepreneurial journey is extremely tough, right? But for someone to have, or an organization to do that for what, 10 years now? 10 years is incredible. So congratulations. Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about personal branding. Now, by no means I think I'm an authority on the topic, right? So, but when Anuradha reached out and said that, hey, can we do something together? We said, okay, let's just brainstorm. Let's see what we have done and just put it in a structure that's easy to understand, right? So think of these more like sharing some lessons that we have learned. I don't think there is any rocket science to it, but doing it consistently is really the thing, right?